In around July 2014, this XF 18-135 came out, and in fairness, it wasn't exactly the lens to set the internet alight. In fact, some of you probably think it's a bit of a dinosaur, but I tested it in 2016 on the T10, so I felt it deserved a little bit of a workout on the new 40 megapixel sensor. Here we are with the T5. The weather here on holiday is not doing us any favors. In fact, I'm about to get wrapped in a cloud on this mountain, but at least we're getting a bit of a shot now. We're going to test it out on holiday. Don't expect miracles. As I say, it's been a bit of a deluge so far, but yeah, we're going to see how we get on and see what value this lens holds in, dare I say, 2023, 24. Hopefully you're watching this in 25, 26. Anyway, let's get on with it. The original plan was to record this whole video while I was on holiday, but it rained so much that I didn't get chance to finish. But everything else, the samples, intro, autofocus test, of course, all done with the T5 and this used 18-135. Now the lens and the T5, of course, are both weather resistant, which really did give me more confidence when I was out and about and it started to rain, and when I was near the spray from the waterfall that you'll see in a bit, for example. But thanks to that really bad weather for half the time I was away, and finishing this at home where it's actually been dry the whole time, annoyingly, I've had more time to think about this whole experience, this whole combo with I was going to say a cold head. You know what I mean? Not literally not cold, because it is still quite nice here. But anyway, this is my thoughts after I've had a chance to calm down from holiday mode and get into post-holiday blues and looking up more flights. And anyway, you get the idea. The range of 27 to 206 mil, 35 mil equivalent, super fun. Yes, the combo comes in at just over 1 kilo, but on this holiday that wasn't a problem. Now there are certain trips where I prefer something more discreet, but as great as a pair of small primes would perform, it's just so much less hassle with this combination, as you never need to swap lenses for typical tourist stuff. Now, as for it being a second-hand lens, this is a well-used copy, but the rings feel absolutely fine. In fairness, I got it from Wex in Birmingham, and they tend to check things very thoroughly, if I'm honest, before reselling to us mere peons. I forgot the word. Anyway, make sure to test anything secondhand in store first but so far I haven't had problems with them and I've bought too much from them over the years. Now the clicked aperture ring, f3.5 or 5.6 to 22, depending where you start. It's very easy to use. Not ideal if you're into shooting low light, but the T5 sensor and OIS really comes into its own. It's definitely a marked improvement since we last featured this lens. Finally, I'm very happy with the fixed filter thread 67mm, though I really have to take a dedicated 67mm ND next time, and not this ridiculous step down monstrosity that you can see. Using this lens on the T5 with firmware 2.0, I had zero issues with the autofocus speed. Remember, I was on holiday, so this bit of a autofocus test that you see now isn't pretty or anything, but hopefully it gives you some idea of my experience overall. The lens and the camera combo didn't let me down when it comes to AF, and I didn't notice any compatibility issues either. Now, as you saw in the intro, the face detection works really well. But a shout out to the bird and animal detection that you get with a T5. Really fun to use, especially with there being so many, if I'm honest, cute cats out there in Turkey. Yeah, that was a welcome feature. When it comes to image quality, there are very mixed reviews out there, and I'm not sure if there's some general negativity as it maybe wasn't a cool lens or copy variation, but I'm happy with the image quality, especially with this new sensor. Sharpness is bordering on very good in the first half of the range. At the front end, it does get a touch soft, honestly, but nothing that's ruining the shots that I want to take on holiday. Color rendering is close to the usual Fujifilm standard, perhaps a touch better now with the added resolution, and contrast is pretty well controlled. There's a spot of chromatic aberration creeping in when you're at 18mm and 135mm, but generally all is good. Distortion, very minimal, with the corrections in place, of course, and that's to be expected. Vignetting, not noticeable for the most part. I should add that I shot everything you're seeing in this video in RAW, processed to DNG with pure RAW 2.4 when I got back to the apartment, and did very minor edits when I got back to the UK, generally just bringing back the highlights and pushing the shadows a touch. That's a little bit more than I usually do when I'm testing gear, but I thought, why not? You know, I even tweaked the horizons a bit, but otherwise I didn't crop anything, which is actually a benefit of the 14 megapixel sensor. I could have improved certain shots, if I'm honest, by cropping and not seen any degradation, but I like my sets, and that's what counts when you take photos for yourself on holiday. Is it worth it then? Well, Fujifilm have kinda been working at replacing this slowly with the 16 to 80 and the 18 to 120, both of which we've tested here on the channel. The Tamron 18 to 300 that we also looked at is probably the most tempting super zoom alternative to this lens for me, but you can get this, actually this actual one, if it's still there, if I don't buy it, for $350 used in the UK. Wex Birmingham, go there. I think that's very hard to beat. Team it up with the latest sensors or even the previous generations like the T4, and I think it's a brilliant combo for those happy with the size and the variable aperture. It's well built, handles nicely on the new bodies, seems to be standing up to the test of time very well, considering it's about, what, 8 years old or so, and this copy has definitely been around the block but still performs very well. Of course, the extra resolution of the T5 really gives the image quality that extra kick that we didn't see before when we used the lens on the T10, of course. Now, every single lens should perform better on the 40 megapixel sensor, but then again, there's a huge amount of people that get so worked up about this that aren't actually printing anything, and even if they are, not large enough to really benefit. So try not to get too caught up in the internet madness. The 26 megapixel sensor is still spot on for 99.99% of us, me included. When I travel, I generally prefer a much smaller setup. Now, while it isn't my ultimate travel combo, I could definitely live with the T5 on most of my travels. There are compacts with 30 times zoom, for example, that are super fun, but you're never going to get the same image quality and practicality, actually. I could compromise a little for travel shots, but not that much. I do own the G7X2 and the Sony ZV-1, and both have their pros and cons. Both are fine for snaps until the zoom end. That smaller sensor just isn't going to get close to the T5 and 18-135. Now, I could take my GX80 and pair that with a 12-200, but that's not that far off the same footprint of this combination, which I prefer. I love my 18-55, but the real fun I found was at the long end, give or take the image quality, and the absolute hassle-free nature of a super zoom on a modern camera like the T5 just gives so much potential with minimum faff. And isn't that what a holiday is all about?